the mic in, flipped a couple switches and started rhyming. It wasn't right then, but I kept writing, knowing I had to put the time in to earn my stipend. Do your guy a solid one time, subscribe and like this.
So this one gonna be kind of short. And I'm shooting it guerrilla style because unlike my other true hip hop stories, this is a relatively recent occurrence. And I just wanted to cut the camera on and tell y'all about it real quick. The MANIC MC. So I've been running around in this circle that I recently kind of clicked with through some various endeavors over the past, I want to say, year or so. And one of the main dudes in the circle also happens to be an MC, right? And a pretty decent one, if you ask me, as far as like wordplay, subject matter, overall creativity. I like a lot of his stuff. But since I've known him, since I've been listening to his stuff, one glaring thing is always missing, in my opinion, and that's polish. You know what I'm saying? Some MCs can get away with this, some can't so much. But dude is one of those MCs that doesn't really rehearse or practice, you know what I'm saying, or prep at all before going into the studio. He's one of them MCs that shows up at the studio, puts a beat on repeat, writes a verse, and then immediately turns the mic on and reads the verse into the microphone, right? Whatever. A lot of MCs do that, and like I said, some can get away with it. In my personal opinion, though, I've always thought, even before I actually saw him physically do this, listening to his music, I could hear that that's what he was doing. But his bars were nice. And for me, if your bars is nice, I can forgive a lot of other things, right? But in my mind, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he asked me to drop a verse alongside him on one of these songs, I wouldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Because your verse sounds like half a freestyle and it's hastily delivered, and my verse sounds world class. Like, we're not going to do that for a multitude of reasons. But anyways, that topic hadn't come up until one day, you know what I'm saying? We were talking about it, the frequency with which he releases music. You know what I'm saying? New joints just coming out, boom, 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 boom. He's very, very consistent. Another thing I like, right? And I said, why don't you let me executive produce an EP for you? You know what I'm saying? Give you that polish to your sound. Like where you have a project with, 5-6 songs on it that sound all the way there. You feel what I'm saying? And dude, like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So we in my studio one day. I had made him like 4 or 5 beats. We listening to him and he's loving every one of them, right? Telling me this. And then mind you, we just listening to the beats and they're just loops at this point. I haven't actually made any transitions or really shaped any of the elements. These are just loops. You know what I'm saying? And so there's no automation. There's nothing in it yet that's going to give it that final polish as far as the beat in terms of really accentuating the musicianship with which it was composed, right? He's loving these beats, these loops. And I'm like, yeah, all right, pick one and we'll drop one right now. He picked one. You know what I'm saying? I stretch it across long enough for him to drop a verse on it. I send him in the booth, right? Mic's warmed up and everything. We're ready to go, right? We start doing takes of a verse, right? And I'm on the talk back like, all right, let's do it again. I'm trying to get enough takes to where I have every part of the verse a good performance of each. Because I know this ain't the type of dude that's going to want to be in here doing 100 takes. He going to lose patience and want to bounce and just, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of MCs are like that. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get, okay, I got the first part of the verse here. I got the middle part of the verse in this take. And I'm trying to get the last part of the verse, and he keep messing up in pretty much the same spot. And I keep saying, give me another one. You know what I'm saying? And he keep asking me why I stop. And I say, because you keep messing up right here. And he like, it's whatever, just leave it. Right? And so we get another take, and he just kind of forces his way all the way through the last part of the verse, right? There's a couple stumbles in there. He just pushes past them. And then when I say, all right, give me another one, he like, no, that's the one. He come out the booth. I'm like, whatever, okay. So he come in the control room. I'm like, you gotta go back in there so we can get your at the very least get your overdubs and ad libs. I'd rather get a couple more takes of this verse until we get it perfect. But if you insist, I'm gonna definitely need some great overdubs to compensate for these places where you clearly stumble. You know what I'm saying? And he like, nah, I don't want to do none of that. Just drop it with just that. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm thinking, I didn't say this way, but in my mind, I'm like, bruh, this is my beat, and it's a good one. I'm not gonna release it out to the public with a garbage verse on it, even if it is a garbage verse from a dope MC. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. What I said was, all right, we'll save what we got so far, and do some more work on this joint another time. You want to lay something else? You know what I'm saying? But by this time, I had him spit the verse maybe 5, 6 times, and he had asked me to let him in there and kind of try to flesh out a hook. And so we had gotten that all said and done. We recorded a verse and a piece of a hook over the course of like maybe an hour and a half, right? And he like, you know what I'm saying? I got to head out. I got some other place to be. I'm like, cool. So I ain't think nothing of it, because in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, we got the first beginnings of the first session. We're learning each other's flow. We'll come back, and this song could become something if we just polish it up, add some more elements, and actually compose it into something, right? Because the verse isn't bad. The hook isn't bad. It's just not well delivered because it wasn't rehearsed before it was recorded. No biggie. At the very least, I could do something with it to where I could at least, you know what I'm saying, shoot him over a copy of what he recorded so we could listen to it a bunch of times as like a scratch track, and then come back in another time and re-record it with how it's supposed to sound. You know what I'm saying? And deliver it with the right, you know what I'm saying, the right level of the right level of control over what it is you're saying. You know what I'm saying? So in my mind, I'm like, whatever, it happens. We get it on the next session. He leave, you know what I'm saying? Still cool. We still, you know what I'm saying? We got other endeavors that we engage in, you know what I'm saying? Out, you know what I'm saying? Here and there, whatever, right? And so I'm not really thinking nothing of it, right? Until about, I want to say maybe 2 weeks later, right? Which I believe was the very next time I played a song for him that I was working on. You know what I'm saying? Before he came in my studio, you know what I'm saying, we was getting cool. I would play songs for the group, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, y'all, check this out. I'm working on what y'all think of this beat or what y'all think of, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know what I'm saying, there's a few musicians in the group. So, like, I value their opinions, right, as other artists, other composers. And up until that point, it was always the same reaction I usually get from most everybody. Oh, that's fire. Because I'm a great producer, and I'm a great MC, and I'm a great engineer. And so I tend to get those types of reactions more often than I get, I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? And so up to that point, everything I played for him, whether it was a song I had just finished to release or if it was a beat for a song I'm about to start recording and I just happen to have the instrumental with me and play it in the car with my, you know what I'm saying, my Thunder or whatever, and say, yo, how y'all like this track? I'm about to, you know what I'm saying? Here's what I'm about to do to it. Whatever, right? You know how you do that. So the first time I did something like that after this studio session was like a few weeks at least after this studio session, at least 2 weeks, maybe 3 or 4. And he criticizes my music. And mind you, I'm not the type to get mad over criticism as long as it's constructive criticism. You know what I'm saying? If you're telling me something because you think you're giving me information that will help me do better, then I'm all for it. You know what I'm saying? But if you're just trying to tell me I suck because you think it's important for me to know that I suck, then you hating for real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you hating. But I'm not the type to be like, you a hater, and all my haters, and I need haters, and I don't subscribe to the Cat Williams school of haterism, so I don't really react to stuff like that. But anyways, the next time I played a joint for him, he tried to say, all your beats, like you need all new sounds. All your sounds sound like amateurish, like Fruity Loops, like, you know what I'm saying? Real cartoonish. Like, it doesn't sound. And I'm like, you've been saying my beats was dope all the way up to this point. The only thing that has changed since what you saying now about all of my beats, not just this one, but all of them. And the last time I played something for you and you was telling me how all my stuff is dope, is that at one point between these two occurrences, I happened to give you some constructive criticism on your music. Now, I didn't tell you you sucked. And I didn't say all your verses sound like this. I said, give me another take. Give me another take. We need, you know what I'm saying? Need you to get through the whole verse. You know what I'm saying? And I could have punched him in, but not every MC likes to punch in. He wasn't going for the punch in. And so that's why I kept having to try to get the whole verse, right? But me trying to say, hey, I need you to do this so that we can produce this product is different from me saying, I think your music sucks because on every song you do this thing that I don't like, right? And in his case, there actually is something that he does on every song that I don't like. But I didn't mention that because I'd rather talk to you about the things that I do like in the music. And there's enough of it in it that I do like that I still jam to it, even though it's a couple of things in it that I don't like. You know what I'm saying? So I never mention that, right? But anyways, so the first time he hears my music after I've criticized his, all of a sudden, all of my beats sound cartoonish and amateurish, and I need all new sounds. And he can't get jiggy with none of my beats. Mind you, this is someone who just raved over 4 or 5 of them a couple weeks prior. You know what I'm saying? 4 or 5 unmixed beats with no arrangements, no EQ, no plugins on anything, any of the tracks. You listen to 4 loops like that, 5 loops like that, and raved over all of them. 2 weeks later, all of my beats are trash because all of my sounds are paper thin, right? And so I tell him then, I say, I know what you're doing. You don't have to do that with me. And I leave it at that because I respect him enough to believe that he understands that when I say I know what you're doing, what I'm saying is I understand that you really don't think my music is whack and that you're trying to attack me right now because you think I attacked you when I was just trying to get a better performance out of you when you was in my studio. You know what I'm saying? And so I think he understands that that's what I'm saying when I say I know what you're doing. You don't got to do that with me, right? And I leave it at that and maneuver on to another subject, right? And this is probably about 2 months ago. And every time we've discussed my music up to that point, he says something to the effect of the same thing. I can't get jiggy with any of your music, and he'll get mad. Like, he'll have these manic episodes and start yelling, be like, you want me to say it? All your music is cheeks, it's trash because your beats is trash, right? And he'll get emotional about it. And I'll be like, I'll keep saying the same thing, like, bro, I know what you're doing. You ain't got to do that with me. You know what I'm saying? So yesterday I'm in his studio watching him drop a joint over a YouTube beat, which is another reason why I wanted to produce an album for him so I could get him off of them YouTube beats. Cause though he not the greatest MC, he better than that. He too good to be rapping over hype beats. You know what I'm saying? Right? And so I'm over his studio watching him drop something over a YouTube beat, and it's not even a type beat. It's an actual instrumental to a platinum selling hit single from years ago, right? And so, and I'm not offering any critiques because by this time I've realized like this is just not somebody that I can ever work with musically because he's too lazy when it comes to his music and he's too immature to accept constructive criticism that can help him actually put something together that sounds like a finished product, right? And so, but we cool though in other regards beyond music. And so I'm just happen to be in there watching, but I'm not saying nothing. And they asked me to get on the track, and I'm like, I'm not gonna get on the track, but I'm kicking it. You know what I'm saying? Right? Um, and I happened to let his brother hear a beat real quick at one point when there wasn't nothing going on. And dude, and I'm not even talking to him, I'm talking to somebody else about my beats. You know what I'm saying? Because the beat of mine that his brother had mentioned he liked another time, right? And dude turns and launches into the "Your beats is trash" tirade. And I tell him again, but this time I get more specific because I'm like, all right, it's been a couple months. You obviously don't understand what I'm telling you. So I'm going to tell you flat out, look, you ain't got to try to get your ego points off me. I bear you no ill will. So trying to continually tell me my music is trash and it's the same music that you were in love with before I gave you your first constructive criticism of your music. Come on, fam. You ain't got to do that with me. Dude gets mad. And I'm starting to realize it actually is a manic thing, right? Because it's not rational. You know what I'm saying? It looks to my eyes like an actual manic episode. You know what I'm saying? This is last night, right? And so I'm like, I just shut up. And dude keep trying to double down. And I'm like, I can't tell if you just trying to have the last couple of words or if you trying to get me to acknowledge or take back what I said. But if you want the last word, and so it took a little while for him to realize that there was no more argument there. You know what I'm saying? Which is another thing that made me think that like, okay, this dude ain't really in control of this. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm just looking, I'm like, you feel me? Because I'm not going to argue with you about some shit that don't matter to me. You know what I'm saying? Right? And so finally, dude kind of comes back to himself. You know what I'm saying? Realizes that we're here for him to do his mixtape cut, right? So he drops his verse. His brother drops a verse. His brother is a lot better than he is when it comes to recording. You know what I'm saying? But that's beside the point, right? And later that evening, I'm telling him about my other homeboy that's about to come through actually today and give me a verse for one of my songs. And this happens to be a mutual friend. And he goes on and on and on about, oh yeah, I did songs with that dude. Matter of fact, let me play a few songs that I did with him back in the day. And he plays me like 3 songs that are like 9, 10, and 11 years old with him and the dude that I'm about to collab with. You know what I'm saying? My homie. And they sound dope, like really, really good. As a matter of fact, dude who never sound polished to me on anything else does actually sound polished on these songs with my homeboy from a decade ago. So I'm like, oh, so you actually can do it. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. Like you actually could have delivered that verse in a way that sounded good and polished. Because I'm hearing you have done it before. But I'm not saying that because I'm like, whatever. Just because I'm not going to work with dude musically. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just thinking this because it doesn't matter anymore at this point. But I'm enjoying the joints, right? And then I say, as a matter of fact, in my opinion, as far as like total package, finished product, dropping albums that, in my opinion, are really, really complete sounding products, this dude is the best in the city. You know what I'm saying? The mutual friend who I'm collabing with today and the MANIC MC has collabed with in the past. And I'm telling the MANIC MC that this dude, I think he the best in the city right now as far as bringing forth a total package. You know what I'm saying? Rap albums that are very palatable, very clever, very creative, very, you know what I'm saying, very experimental. It checks every box, what he's doing, right? Now, mind you, the MANIC MC has been raving about how proud he is to have done tracks with this dude that I'm about to do a track with up to this point. When I say this dude, I think is the best in the city right now. All of a sudden, the dude he was just super proud to have collabed with in the past is, oh, well, no, he not better than me. Matter of fact, he not even that good. And matter of fact, these are the things I don't like about his flow. And he starts going into a manic episode of negative critiques of this dude he was just bragging about having been on songs with 10 years ago, right? After he hears me say, I think that dude is the best right now. Like, oh, it was an honor to have collabed with him. Oh, you think he's the best? Oh, well, he not that good. Matter of fact, I don't think he that good at all. These are the problems I have with his flow. And so I tell him, I say, listen, bruh, you had nothing but praise about this dude until I told you I think he's the best right now. And now you have nothing but negative things to say. You don't have to do that with me. You know what I'm saying? And dude, again, it just like he had no control over this manic episode. Something triggered him, flipped him into that mode. And now for the next 30 minutes, he's got to unload all of this bullshit on you. Even if you let him know, hey, it's okay. You don't have to convince me. We don't even have to talk about it. It's fine. You know what I'm saying? He can't stop. He just got to, and he repeats himself over and over again. You got to unload the whole thing on you. And it's just wild to me to see it. And so I came home and I was thinking about it a lot. I was like, man, because this is not the first time I've seen this, I just hadn't seen it in somebody so far from childhood. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure it's a common thing. And so let's talk about it in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, of course, but jump in these comments and tell me what you think about MCs who can't accept criticism when it's needed and then try to tear you down after you provide that needed constructive criticism instead of, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I guess, I don't know why I got to narrow that to MCs. I guess for no other reason except that these are the true hip-hop stories, right? But that's the thing. People do that. People sometimes cannot internalize anything. But I just wanted to get that out. Like I said, guerrilla style, because this happened yesterday. But yeah, let's get in these comments and talk about it. Obviously, I'm not going to give you none of these MCs' names. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to, you know what I'm saying, be out there dragging nobody through the mud. But just an interesting set of circumstances. Obviously, it probably relates to some mental health concerns, but I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, so I'm not going to speculate on that. You know what I'm saying? Just telling an interesting, true hip-hop story. G-EyE. Out.